Greetings to you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to Shakespeare's YouTube channel. I also welcome you back to database management systems and warehouses. Today we are continuing with database management question answering. We have done the first part. Now we are getting into the most interesting part, where we're going to do the practical writing of SQL statements. So without answering the questions, we will answer the questions, but if we try to answer the questions straightforward, we'll just create this and that. But we want to create all the tables so that we learn how to do it, right? So this is it, and I'm going to create the database called dbcrm. I'm going to create that using Workbench. So I'm going to search for Workbench here. Workbench, I have Workbench over there. Right, so it's opening. Right, let me click on local instance MySQL 8.1. Then it asks for a password. I put my password and then I log in. Then we have this page. Now I'm going to create a new script. New SQL tab. Right. So you can see here we do not have a table. The database that is called what? Where is it? Yeah, dbcrm. So this is the database that I'm going to create. So the first query that I write is create. What do I want to create? Database. What is the name of the database? That, and then I can terminate. So if you terminate, it will run. If you leave it without terminating, it will run as well. So the first thing to say is this text editing platform is not case sensitive. It is not case sensitive. What do you mean when you say it's not case sensitive? When you write a capital letter C and a small letter c, it doesn't change the meaning of the word. All those words that are written in blue, in my case, they are keywords, and those written in black are user-defined words. So this is the name of the database. I can write whatever I want here, but because we are working on a question paper that is defining a database called dbcrm, we're going to use it as the name. So here, if you want to execute, you can use this lightning icon button, or you can use this. You can highlight and then use this to execute it. So when you execute it, it gives you this comment. It's blue tick, it's a white tick in green, meaning to say we have managed to create the database. But now this database was created. What if we try to run it another time? This query has managed to create the database. But what if we try to run it again? It's going to give us an error that is an X that is white in red. Meaning to say you can't create database with the name dbcrm because database exists. So to avoid this, we may say create database if not exists. Then try to run it. because it is created already, it now gives you an error, black exclamation mark in yellow triangle. It's now a warning, not not an error. So your system will continue running. If you get an error, it means your system may not continue to run. Now I'm putting a termination here. This is how we terminate, or this is how we put full stops in writing queries. I'm now putting a query full stop, which is a termination with the semicolon, because I'm going to write a number of SQL queries, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the query here, which is going to drop or delete or remove. So create is a data definition language command, data definition language. We are defining the database. We are defining the database. So database objects includes the database itself, the tables, the views, and many other objects that we may talk of. So create is used to manipulate or to create or to generate or to define database objects. And in this case, the object is the database itself. The object is the database itself. Right. So that's it, as you can see over there. Now, to drop it or to destroy it, we use the term drop, which is also a data definition language to destroy database objects. Whatever we create with create command, we can destroy it with drop. So what we want to destroy is the database. And what is the name of the database? Is DB-CRM. So you see, this is referring to this. Yes, sensitive, non-case sensitive. If you try, it's deleted. You can see from our schemas list there. It's no longer in existence. Even if we try to refresh, it's no longer in existence, right? So it has been deleted. But if you try to run the same query, it's going to give us an error. So what should we do? Delete database if exists. We delete it only if it exists. So if we run this, it's going to give us a warning, not an error. So I can now run both queries, and I'm expecting to see 2 green comments as output. Let me run. First one is a warning because the database does not exist. The other one is not a warning because we've managed to create the database. It doesn't appear there. If we click on refresh there, we will see our DB-CRM database created. So I think I've prepared you for database creation. You now know how to create a database, and you can now tell whether create is data manipulation or is data definition language. So we have create and drop. Right, let's now continue. We have been given a list of tables to create. We've been given. So we have table customers. So this is the table that we are now going to create, called table customers. So we go there, we say create table. I think I copied it. Right, if we try to execute it, so termination, it tells to say this is our query starts from there and ends there. So if we want to execute all of them, we can execute them at once. If we miss the termination and try to run more than one query, then it's going to raise an error. All right, so the tables, let's create this table. So the table is created this way. And then we put the list of our columns. What we have customer ID, and then we say customer ID, customer ID, and we said it's of what data type. I think we talked about it when we were talking about domain integrity. Right here we said it's a what, an integer. Good. And then it being an integer, we say int, and then we say this is our what, our primary key, and then put a comma, and then we go and say our next. If we end there, we must not have an error. So you can see that we may have a table with only one. Let me remove the bottom thing. We may have a table with only one column, but we don't want to have one column because our file here is having first name, surname. So we say first name. First name, we say it can be varying characters, so that's varchar. But how many characters are we expecting for a first name? Not more than 32, right? So that's the data type. Is it having any other constraints? No. What do we have? Surname is variable character, and surname we normally don't have surnames that are longer than 64, so let's just put 64 there. And even the name, let me just put 64 there. That's the number of characters. What else do we have? Surname, then email. We just leave it as email, and then data type we say variable characters, and then we put 64. Yeah, we just work with 64. What else do we have? National ID, which is a variable character of what size? Email. National ID I can just say 16. And we're done. This is our table. If we run it, so I'm going to use it speed so that I can highlight everything and you can see it as well. All right, so I can have that and then run it. Create table, error, no database selected. Therefore, as the system is saying, where am I putting this table? Am I creating this table in DB CRM or DB domestic animals or student management app DB or sys or test? So for us to avoid this error, we just here select the database that we want to use. We say use DBCRM, and then we terminate and then run that. I hope it's going to work. Right, now we've selected the database and you can see it's bolded now. The moment we run that, we can now create our table. Now we've created table and it is executed. If we refresh, you can see that we now have table customers. But what if we try to run it again? We will have an error. So what do we have to do? We have to say create table if not exist, and then run it. We get a warning, which is better. So here we have defined our primary key using this method. Next, we are going to create another table and define it and define a primary key in a different manner. All right. So the next table that we're going to create is table complaints. Now we say create table. Now we will rush a bit so that you can, because you now understand how we create a database. Now we say create a table if not exists. What's the table name? The table name is table complaints. Table complaints, TBL complaints. And then what do we have as our columns? The first one is complaint ID. So we say complaint ID. And in our case, complaint ID is having variable characters or varying characters. So we can say var, and it's having how many characters, by the way? It's having some, right? Complaint ID. I wanted to check complaint ID. Complaint ID is having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters. So we can say we can put 7, but let's just put 8 characters there. So the number of characters is what we put there, and this is a primary key, right? But we do not want to have it like this. We are going to define it later. And then what do we do next? What's the next column? Next column is complaint date, and then we say complaint date, which is a varying character of what size? No, date is not varying character, it's date. Then we put comma, we enter. So date int, you don't define the number of characters that you are putting there. You just define to say, just say date, and the system is accepting MySQL data, MySQL date format. Right, from date, what you have, it's complaint date, yes. And then customer ID, we have it, it's customer ID. And what's the data type is int. And after customer ID, so this customer ID is a foreign key. We will enforce referential integrity just after. Then complaint details, complaint details, what are they? It's text. I mean, choose to have it as text. Now we need to enforce entity integrity within this table. So to enforce entity integrity, what we do is the first thing to do is to define primary key. We just say primary key, and our primary key we said is complaint ID. Complaint ID. Right. We may also need to enforce referential integrity. by saying foreign key. Foreign key is customer ID. So customer ID, which references, what does it reference? It references a table customers, and what's the name of the column? It's called customer ID over there. So let me remove this slide so we can have our text here. So this is our table. So let's try to run it. Let me have the bottom part so you can see the output. So this is our table. This is our table. Right, we can highlight it and run it. Wow, it's created with no errors. So I can activate the left side so you can see the tables we have. Refresh, and then we have table what? Table complaints, which is there, and it's having those columns. So we can actually double click or click here. You see the table there. Now click there. If you double click on the table name there, it will appear here, and you can see that we have complaint ID underlined by one line and saving PK, which means it's primary key. Customer ID in bold to show that it's a what? It's a foreign key. All right, thank you for typing that in the comment section. Now we have we're here. All right, we've created that table. Now we're creating the next table. So you see the order that we are moving in creating the tables. Now we are done with that. So we need now to create this table. But you can see that for us to create this table, we must have user ID, which is a foreign key referring to primary key of table users, which is here. So what can we do? What can we do? What we can do is this. We cannot create table resolve without creating table users. Thus, the statement required by this statement, which says include footnotes on your table creation sequence. So you're asked to create table customers, table complaint resolve. So table complaint resolve cannot be created without creating table users. So you are not supposed to write a query to create table users, but you are required to say out this. I assume that table users has been created. Therefore, the following query is going to be written to create table complaint resolve. Otherwise, if you don't write that footnote, you may need to create table users to show that you know the sequence required in creating these tables. Because this is a secondary table, this is a primary table to table complaint resolve. We cannot resolve a table without a user. We cannot resolve a table without a user. Therefore, we need to create this table first and then followed by that. That's why we have in the question include footnotes. So the footnotes I gave you, we cannot create a secondary table without creating the primary table. So we start by creating the table users, which is the primary table, and then we write the following query to create table complaint resolve, and then you write your query. But now, because we are doing it practically, I am going to start by creating table users table. Where's our right? So I will move a bit fast. I will delete all that. and then enter. So we have empty space. Then I can say create table if. All right, let me enlarge it so you can see. All right, table if not exists. And what's the name of the table is table users, and then columns do you have? What columns do you have for users? User ID. You can say user ID, and user ID is of what type? Integer. And is it primary key? You now know how to enforce entity integrity through two ways that I showed you. Username, you can say user name. Username is of what type? Variable character of size 64. Username, and what else? Password. Alright, password is of what type of password? Let me just test that. If it's going, if it works, then we will be lucky. Let me just put the variable character. And put 64 there. Right, this is the last column, right? Yes. And then try to execute that. Run it. I guess it's executed. Table users created successfully. Now we need to all right, let me just say drop table if exists, and then say table users, right? So if you want to drop it, you can use this statement. I just wrote it there so you can see how one can drop it. Right, so it's created. If we check on our left there, you can see that we now have three tables: table users, table customers, and table complaints. Now we want to create another table, which is the last one down. Right, what's the table name? Table complaint resolve. Table complaint resolve. We say create table if not exists. Table complaint resolve, which is this one. Alright, table complaint resolve. Table complaint resolve. Right, and we do da. Now, what are the columns? Complaint resolve ID, complaint resolve ID. Right, this is variable character. It's variable character. And how many characters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. So let's say 6 there. And that's our primary key, right? Primary key. No. Right. That being our primary key. Let me add user ID, which is a foreign key. User ID, and this foreign key is an integer, and then we have date resolved, and this is of data type date, and then complaint ID, complaint ID. Complaint ID is a variable character. I think it's the one that is having 8 characters. If not mistaken, let me just confirm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. So I chose to have 8. Okay. And then complaint ID. Then resolve details. Resolve details. And then this is text. Right, I think this is it. Now let me enforce entity referential integrity. User ID is a foreign key, so I say foreign key user ID, where we are referencing table users, right? And in table users, we are referring to user ID. I think that's not the only foreign key that we have. Foreign key, we also have complaint ID there. Complaint ID, and there we are referencing table complaints, and in that we are referring to complaint ID. I think I'm done now. Let me have it that way. Right, so foreign key that, primary key, I have it. I can now execute it. Let me have the bottom line there. Right, so let me run this. Now run that. I hope it's going to execute. Wow. Table complaint resolve created. So let me check if we have it. We have 3, refresh, and I have all the tables created. So we have managed to create all the tables, and these are all the tables, but we were asked to create these 2 tables. So we were asked to create only these 2 tables and include the footnotes on table creation sequence. So I told you this, the notes that you were asked to put, to say we cannot start, we must start with the primary table before creating a table that will refer to the primary table. So that's it. And the table users is the one that is, or that was our primary table, which is having columns. You know, if we look at this table resolve, you can observe that this is, meaning to say this table complaint resolve must be created after 2 tables have already been created. The first one being users, the second one being table complaints. Therefore, this table depends on table complaints and table users. But the question did not ask you to create table complaints. Therefore, you have to mention that 2 tables must be created first before we create a table called table complaint resolve, and then we can create it, and then create table customers. Table customers is a primary table. It doesn't depend on any table. So that's it in terms of creating the tables. I think my videos are too long. I will pause here and resume later. Thank you very much for spending some time with me on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. Let's catch up in the next in the next series. Goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your day or night.